Ear more pod.
Are you doing the intro? Am I doing the intro?
Let's both do the intro, and let's have people vote on who does the better intro.
God, I'm not good on the spot, but
welcome to Earmore Pod. Don't fucking interrupt me. It's moved by Mateo. I'm here with Max Taylor.
Hey. We in this motherfucker.
We in this, and we have a really good episode today. But we're back from last week's first episode. We want to thank you guys for being with us so far while we get this out. We're very excited. Sounding way more excited on this intro than the last one. So I appreciate you all. If you did get through it, if not, we'll catch you. We'll get you. We'll reel you in.
We're getting you. Reel you in, like our guest today, Ben Gershman, avid fisherman.
Yeah, Benny Nice, the Chicago legend, notorious, infamous, event thrower, party planner, fisherman, all around community member, community builder, facilitator, the Phil Jackson of the Wiggities.
Phil Jackson of
the Magnificent Styles of the Chicago crew. All around good human. So we're gonna get into that in a bit. We had a really good conversation with him.
Yeah, I thought it was super insightful, talking to an old friend of ours, but learning new things. I think we all had some nostalgic moments and really reflected on some good times growing up in the Chicago music scene.
Yeah, also this man's music brain is
great.
One of a kind, rare spirit for sure, and he can definitely he can talk about songs for days. So
yeah,
it's one of the longer episodes, but it's worth it, man. He really dove in and gave us some nice history lessons.
Mm-hmm. He pulled out some deep cuts for the playlist, and we had a good talk about white rappers. So make sure you stay around for that.
Yeah. Also, just a quick little intro on what we're doing this week. We decided that Memorial Day weekend's coming out, and it is a weird time. We got to stay inside. Not a lot of cookouts happening. Hopefully, if y'all motherfuckers are responsible,
please no.
We know a lot of you gonna still go out and do some ratchet shit and start having cookouts. But make sure you keep each other safe. Socially distance. Do what you got to do. I don't know.
Indeed. Very few of us are. But yeah, we wanted to put together a playlist this week to celebrate Memorial Day weekend. If we were out and about with our friends and families having a cookout, what were the jams we'd want to hear? And I think we got a good one this week. Yeah,
the Earth 2 Memorial Day cookout is basically what we should call it. That
exactly.
We'll brainstorm. But before we get into that, Max has got some validating feelings. He feels like we did get through the versus battle. Nelly versus Ludacris.
I was made out to be the hater last week, and I personally feel like I've been vindicated. Though it was a great battle. I love both of those guys. It was
now you do.
Oh, come on. From the beginning. Love both those guys. Brought up so many hits, so many jams, but I think we all will agree that Luda was the winner this week. Yeah. Between Teddy Riley Jr., aka Nelly's Internet, which of course was the weather, but I still, you're gonna look bad no matter what with that.
It was avoidable. I think. I think what really won this battle was the order that you play the songs. Preparation. I think Luda spent time on his list. He knew what he wanted to play. He knew when he was going to play it. There was never a moment where he wasn't controlling where it was going.
Yeah.
So despite all the internet stuff, and honestly, Nelly got slapped. He did. Nelly, like a true Midwesterner, was out there getting high and drunk. But you know what, though? I got to say, the real winner of that night is Nelly's spirit.
Truly, I think that he did remind us of the greatness that is Nelly. In his vibe, he clearly
What a good
is so happy with all of the shit that he's done, as he should be, because he's a legend.
Same.
It was nuts to relive that. I mean, him holding up like the diamond trophies and stuff. It's like, it's crazy. I mean, those the Country Grammar and Nellyville are Hall of Famers. But I also think that we've talked about it a little bit, but Luda just his features just are all timers, and there's just nothing that Nelly could do. His features were subpar, average, and
they didn't have as much range.
Yeah, but what are you gonna do when he's pulling out?
But that's right. Nelly never really stole the show outside of like the NSYNC feature. Probably the only time where I was like, damn, Nelly snapped.
What he's next to. Yeah, the Biggie posthumous joint, the I forget what the other features were, but they just weren't. I mean, you just can't. Luda's been doing it, and it spans a little longer, and his features were highlights of those songs. Yeah. And then the biggest thing to me is that Nelly did play his biggest song, which is his Tim McGraw joint. What a dream, or whatever that joint is.
No, he played Just a Dream, but he didn't play the other joint. The Florida Georgia Line joint.
Florida Georgia Line one, yeah.
Yeah. Because Tim McGraw's he didn't play Tim McGraw though.
No, he didn't play that shit.
Over and over.
Over and over, whatever. Yeah, I mean, I get it. If I was him, I'd feel a little self-conscious a bit.
I mean, no, that's the thing. Like, I think we gotta also understand. You gotta know what you're getting into in the versus battle, and I think it goes back to, I think Little John and T-Pain were the only ones that got away with taking us into white world and then pulling us back out. Getting us back out of the Matrix, but because they crossed over in like EDM world, and they crossed over into everybody got hyped to shots with AO and shit, like so it was still a moment where this is very much this is hip hop, this is black, this is like this is that culture. So I think when you play something like Just a Dream, it's like, I remember when that came out and I was like, damn, Nelly fell off, man. Like he really just he's out here chasing hits.
But there's a whole I was gonna say there's still probably 80% of the population was like, yeah, let's go Nelly.
Yeah, but versus, that's not who's watching it. Those aren't the voices, man.
No. So I think that's a tough hole to come out of. But either way, awesome battle, fun times, reliving our middle school days, high school days, even into college with some of those Luda features.
Yeah, I mean, well, to just say one more thing about Luda is he consistently is someone that he didn't have to. Honestly, okay. Here's the thing with Nelly. With Nelly was never like a rapper's rapper. Nelly is like way more multifaceted, and it has a wider range of talent and musicality than Ludacris has.
Yeah.
Right? Although Ludacris is arguably a better rapper.
Yeah.
Nelly is someone that he was really out here making some innovative music we never heard anything like him, and he also he wasn't out here on the features of like, I need to prove that I'm a rapper. I think Ludacris comes from a different cloth, and he's really out here trying to like tear people's heads off when he gets on a feature. Like one of his first features was Made You Look with Nas. It's like they're giving you that look, you're gonna go crazy.
You gotta step up.
I think with this versus battle, it's definitely like, Nelly was the underdog, and it's not that surprising that he did not come out on top, because it's Ludacris's domain. This is his gym. This is what he's been prepping for. So shouts to both of them, but it was crazy. It was cool. I like the energy. I just love how happy Nelly was.
Yeah.
Clearly
he was pumped.
He was pumped, dude. He was probably getting drunk because he was like so excited.
Yeah, I mean, I would too. So,
Um,
have they announced who's going to be next? I know they were talking
saying,
about a few different things, but
they're talking about some bullshit, man.
we'll save. We'll
Yeah.
figure it once they make some more announcements. We'll
But
do some more speculations. But
they were, Usher's trying to get in the ring. So
I don't know who can go with them though.
They're saying Chris Brown, and they're saying Justin Timberlake. I think both of those are not good.
No.
And I think Usher's in his own lane. Honestly,
yeah.
I don't know who.
And that's something to be said about this versus thing. Also, really shows us the greatness of the individuality of a lot of these artists that we think are comparable, and then you see how really unique their lane is. So, if for that alone, that's great.
Nobody can go against Missy. They got no one. Missy misdemeanor. Anyway,
we'll keep a watch. How's your quarantine week been? How are you feeling about the world? And more importantly, what bullshit have white people pulled this week on the internet that's really pissed you off?
Man, okay, a lot of things. Well, man, week is good. I think we're in week 10. I think the best thing and the saddest thing is Last Dance is over. Reliving my childhood as a true Chicagoan with the 773 area code.
Yes, sir.
Man, I just didn't realize we grew up into it, right? Like we were not really humans when the first three happened, and then when the 3P happened, we were still kids, man. So we grew up in this crazy dynasty that we were just spoiled. I thought sports was like that.
I grew up thinking you just won.
I was just a winner. Yeah.
You just won. That's what's supposed to happen.
And also I think in the past like 10 years, I've always been I've always kind of had a side eye and not very trusting of all the Bulls fans that I've met that aren't from Chicago. Mm-hmm. And this made me like doubt. It's like when you leave Chicago for college and then all these cats are like, I'm from Chicago, but like, where are you really from? And they're like, well, I'm really from Northbrook, but like, like who wants to say that kind of thing? And so like you get all these Chicago fans and they're big MJ fans, but they were like Bulls fans. Like our whole generation, if you were into basketball, if you're into sports, you were into Michael Jordan and you were into the Bulls. Like it was like your team and then it was the Bulls, or it was the Bulls first. If you had like, if you're from Utah.
I think it really put into perspective just the global nature of those teams and Michael Jordan, and but it was great. I think for the moment to get that nostalgia, it just hit so much harder for what we're going through, and growing up in that, I think we were just so spoiled. I never can fully relay that idea to other people that just like we grew up winners. And I didn't know anything different until I was 10 years old.
And then we had Sammy Sosa, and we had the Blackhawks, and we had the White Sox, and we just had Chicago, just such a dope sports city, and even when we weren't winning necessarily, it was like the Cubs Sox rivalry is one of a kind.
Exactly,
it's literally divided by the north and south side of the city, so it's like. We always had some competitive draw to the city. So it was cool. I'm really sad that it's over. I think that it was definitely a big Sunday activity that I look forward to like cap the week off, and it was. Can it keep going?
I wish it kept a sense of time for me, knowing what day it was. If it was Sunday, that really. Otherwise. What is time these days? So I'll miss it, but I think we got some good other sports docs coming. So that's all I'm going to hang my hat on.
Yeah. As far as white people doing dumb shit on the internet. I mean, pandemic.
Oh my God. I didn't know anything about this until you told me about it. So you have to do a little. I haven't. I don't like to allow my brain to see stuff like that.
I think you should, man. I think it's. I mean, I didn't like watch the documentary, but yeah. I mean, look, man, misinformation is crazy out here, and I think it's only getting worse. And I think what people just overlook, and well, pandemic in general, like just a brief recap on what that dumb shit is rich ass racist white people with a lot of influence and a lot of allies in very powerful places have put together a very well produced misinformation campaign documentary that talks about how all these falsehoods of coronavirus, how basically they created this situation of a really high affluent doctor that is basically she's telling us the truth about how they want hospitals to put coronavirus as part of the as part of your whatever thing. What's your board that you get?
I get
your. I'm gonna pause here.
Oh, at the doctor.
Yeah.
Your chart.
Your chart. There we go. It's been a long day. Yeah. So like they get paid a certain amount of money, like whatever, $16,000, and then if you die at the hospital and they put that is from coronavirus, the hospital gets like $35,000, and it's a big thing against Medicare for all and how it's a scam. But it's also like how we should get back to the economy and like all this shit doesn't matter. It's a whole bunch of it's all this conspiracy theories about how like corona is like not really a thing that we should worry about, that we all got to get out here. And how it's basically it was planned to like keep us in control, and it's just fucked up, man. And it's one of those things where but why do we need this? I think the big thing that upsets me that I'm sorry I'm ranting, but is that I think people forget that there are very powerful people putting this stuff out. This isn't just like people are dumb.
Yeah,
these are very smart people.
Yeah,
it's very smart people, and it's like it's a dark world.
Yeah, I can't stand that shit. The whole thing, everything's annoying me, and it's mainly these white people out here acting a fool, thinking that inconvenience is oppression. And I could watch these Karen ass videos on Twitter all day, every day. They just don't quite grasp wearing a mask in a store. They act like that's the end of the world for them. I watched a video where basically this woman made like an ad for this supermarket. Everybody, if you watch the video, everyone she interacted with that worked there was so pleasant and kind to her while she was acting like a fool. The guy that was like outside washing the carts was like dancing to Michael Jackson. He got the manager, was super nice to her. Then the manager came. He offered to shop for her if she didn't want to wear a mask. And she was like still going at him, saying that that he was infringing upon her. And it was just remarkable. And she like thought that she was getting a point across when literally they offered to shop for her, offered to give her a mask even. I forgot that. They literally offered to give her a mask. She didn't even need her own. And she thought that was just so out of line. There's just so many of them. I just can't stand it. Karens need to go home, stay home with their shitty ass kids they're probably raising. But anyway, it's going to continue. We got months and months of this, but we'll get through it. And we're going to keep on listening to some music to bide our time.
Yeah, man. So we got this really cool playlist. We hope you guys enjoy it. Memorial Day weekend. Can't really have the cookouts that we want, but
trying to do it the best we can. Let's get into it.
I really fucked the intro up last time, guys, but welcome to Earmore Pod. We're here with Moo by Mateo, Max Taylor, and a very special guest, friend of the show. We do have a show, and we have friends.
Confirmed.
His name is he goes by a lot of different monikers. Benny Nice, Benny Gershman, Benjamin Gershman, fully married, Mr. Karina.
That's right. My Christian name, Cornelius Gershington.
Cornelius Gershington. Like that
right.
one.
That's right.
Wow. But we're excited to have you, man. We're going to pretend like we didn't just have a little catch up before things started.
Oh, that's right. Oh, hey. Nice to see you guys.
We are,
Hey, man.
we are filming. We are filming.
We're live.
So, we're live in this bitch. Let's go.
Yeah. Thanks for having
today.
me. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Each tuning in. I love how you can kind of read into each one of our characters from what's behind our heads right now. Max is on some weird minimalist shit. And
Wabi Sabi, baby.
That's right. And Matt is on some like starving artist,
Starving about
European
this
flat type mood. But yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Well, tell people who you are, what you do, where you're from, where you at right now, all the things.
Yeah. So my name is Ben, rap moniker, music moniker, Benny Nice. It's been a long
legend.
journey. Yeah, Chicago legend. Yeah. So born in Connecticut, actually. This is something that's little known. Born in Connecticut, but raised in Chicago, and that's how I know these two fools. Was through. We didn't go to the same high school, but and all the city kids kind of had the same kind of incestuous, unit. These guys were just part of that whole scene, and we connected quickly. And I think the biggest, the most striking memory with you guys was, I think, throwing this show at the Metro, where we opened for the non-showing Lupe Fiasco. And there's legendary memories of performing on stage those tracks that we recorded specifically for it. But
Magnificent Styles, baby.
that's right. I still have cuts of those. I got to. If you don't have them, I'll send them. But and then obviously Lupe not showing up, the crowd going into complete anarchy. And one of the acts earlier had thrown, bouncy balls into the crowd as a promotional stunt.
No,
and they started whipping those.
That was us.
Oh, that was us! God damn it, you idiots! And they started whipping those balls back on stage at us to protest Lupe showing up. But Matt, you braved. We all walked out behind you, but you braved the storm and went out there with a mic because none of the other people wanted to talk the crowd down. So
I don't even remember that. I blacked that.
I was gonna say I don't remember that.
I remember that distinctly, man. Yeah.
I remember you wearing some.
Oh, dude, let's not talk about it. I was wearing Birkenstocks and socks on stage, I think.
You
I don't know
look
what
like-
happened. Why didn't you guys save me from myself?
You were ahead of your time.
No, man, you were.
That's like the year 3000. There's something that's
we're not gonna act like
dashiki shirt, bro. That actually wasn't. First off, that was woke people. That was not dashiki. It was from India, and my dad got that on a business trip. Okay, so let's just clear that up right now.
He said woke people before you come.
Don't come for me. Don't cancel me, please.
right. No,
Yeah.
we just went a continent more to the east and
man.
less
Different
problematic.
colonized country. God damn it.
Still a problem. Still a
Yeah,
problem.
it's still problematic.
We're not gonna act like anything that I would have ever said to you at that point or any point in my life would have been followed by you.
I was a rogue agent.
That's some good advice, man.
Yeah.
Actually, I should take these Birkenstocks off.
Yeah.
No,
That's true. That's
not
true.
at all.
Nah, I remember that, man. It's so funny because the earliest memory that I have, I don't know if Max, if we were on the same crew yet, as deep as we were, but I remember just the lore of Benny Nice, because you had all the house parties that
Those were my parents were, I mean, they must have been in on it or something, because they would leave at the most opportune times.
That's great.
And I would drive into town to throw parties at their house. They left
That's crazy.
prom weekend. I mean, they're just foolish.
Yeah.
But you had the house party of the city. Like, it seemed like
Yeah.
everyone wanted to get in. We didn't know you yet, and I remember the transition from being the nobody till a person that was like, I'm going over Benny Gershman's house. And
it was a place to be seen.
It was like, oh, yeah, definitely.
It was like Soho House before Soho House. You know what I'm saying?
It was.
My parents' house. And you know, those parties are, the neighbors would set up video cameras in, you know, that peak. There was stories about, you know, people running around naked on the roof, and, you know, there were cops that came, and it's just
people getting thrown in the bushes.
Multiple massive brawls.
No,
brawls.
It was honestly a full transition of like pre-party in high school to like roaming around and trying to find some shit, and then finally being your friend and having a place that we can go and like hang out safely without, you know, like roaming the streets.
And my mom would come and bring us a big bowl of grapes, and just the grapes,
and being so befuddled by your parents, begrudgingly accepting your just like. It was a like fully merry-go-round of people coming in and out of your house at all times.
Yeah, it was fantastic. So yeah, just to bring it full circle. So yeah, so in high school, you know, that's where I met these guys, and where I first, you know, my initial, when I first started making music, I started off as a singer songwriter, like folk guitar. You know, my mom got me like guitar lessons, and I would go to the Old Town School of Folk Music to what was called the Riff Cafe, one of the first open mics there.
Oh wow!
And then I would play Beatles covers and like Simon and Garfunkel, like Cecilia, and it would be all like punk rockers there from old Chicago scene. And there's old cassette tapes my mom would record of those, and you'd hear me singing like Cecilia and strumming on a guitar, and like all these punk rockers are going, yeah, and like women are yelling, marry me, Betty, like just like all like a bunch of like 17, 18-year-old like cool kids from the neighborhood.
Wow.
And then, you know, eventually I kept doing the open mics there even before high school.
You were playing
Guitar and singing, yeah.
How old were you?
Andrew Bird would play at those open mics, and I remember I played at a few with him, and he was just like a guy with his violin, and you know, he exploded after that. But that was at the Old Town School of Folk Music.
How old were you?
I started doing it when I was maybe like 9 or 10. It was young. It was young as hell, and I was just like could not play guitar whatsoever. It was just me bashing at a couple strings. You know what I'm saying? But yeah. Anyways, after high school, I went to college at Indiana University, which it boasts one of the best music schools in the country, and that's part of the reason why I wanted to go there, was to, you know, feel that connection to music, even though I wasn't going to the music school there. And you know, at a jazz intro to jazz class, a few guys from the jazz school did a demo, and I was like, I want those guys in my band. And, you know, I want to be in a band first off, but I want those guys. And a few months later, lo and behold, destiny would have it, those same guys, Ben Belasny, Ryan and Bowden, and Davis Jones, I'm sorry, not Davis Jones, Matt Margison, they were at a party, and they were those same jazz heads, and we started a band. And, you know, I played in that band throughout college, and 2 years afterwards, we were called Jip Jop.
Wow.
Combining the words jazz and hip hop into the superpower, like Super Saiyan explosion.
It's also crazy that like you were the only Jip Jop. There was no
other Jip Jop. There was the genre, the hip genre, like name hip hop. That's how I think we got most of our hits on Facebook, were people looking for the hip hop genre in Spanish. But
man, so you're ahead of your time in SEO too. You knew exactly.
We knew exactly how to hit SEO. I mean, the most probably uncool name in the history of jazz infused hip hop bands. And Lord knows there's a lot of bad names out there. But yeah, but we did pretty good. You know,
how long do you think the Roots took on their name? You know,
the Roots. Yeah, but that's a great name.
It's a great name, but it's like we're like,
you know them. That's like why it's, I mean, that's any name, right? I mean, nothing's cool until it's cool.
Yeah, it's true. But there was 1,000 cooler names than Jip Jop that I can think of literally right now and just rattle off, you know, the Max Taylors, literally anything. Gibberish would have been probably better.
I think you gotta like kind of Jip Jop is like the most accessible entry point for any white people to be like,
yes, because like one
jazz, but it's hip hop. Wow.
Right. Yeah,
like, you're not gonna be like the Funkadelics. They're gonna be like, what is that weirdo stuff?
Yes, yeah. But yeah, we went on tour with Nappy Roots, and we played for like LMFAO and Mike Posner and a bunch of other kind of B-rate artists, B-listers.
Put some respect on Mike Poser's name.
At the time, A-list. At the time, A-list.
Yeah, he was. They were A-list at the time, but it was a great experience. And I feel like I was telling a friend this the other day that everybody should have the experience of pursuing art at some point in their life. And it's not saying that it's a futile, endeavor, but it's important to do that, to pursue art for the sake of art at some point, and not be constantly striving just for capital. All
right. Yeah. So where'd you get that that mindset too? Because I like my earliest memory of you also is Cenozoic era. That was like that was kind of like when I was idolizing the 1 year older Benny Gershon. But
he was so much older than us.
But you felt so much older and so much more in the pocket of knowing what you wanted to do. But I remember like you were doing some out the box stuff when we were like 16, 17, and it felt like you weren't trying to prove anything. Your concepts were just like they were in your own dimension. And I was here coming from this place of like freestyle battling on the streets. Yeah. And trying to be like I'm the best rapper at Walter Payton, and then I'm gonna battle people in a different high school and show them that. So I just had like a whole different mentality. I was like trying to prove. I had like a chip on my shoulder the whole time. Let's not even talk about Jared's chip on his shoulder. But I feel like you always came from this like the similar place. Like you were it felt like a very genuine pursuit of art.
Well, for me, it's weird. And I listened back to certain songs in the past as a way to, it's like sensory memory, like a certain song is bound to a specific moment in time. And when you listen to it, you get transported back there. I can say that like my music is, if I were to give it some kind of significance, it's simply as like a journal. Like it was a diary, and I can remember, okay, this is the song I made after this breakup, and I was just on some fuck the world shit, and and there's all this coded language in there that like only I really can understand, and maybe only I can appreciate. But the biggest value of that music that I made is, not that it's received any kind of commercial success whatsoever, but is as this kind of diary that I can revisit, and I get so much joy from it. And maybe that's kind of vain now that I say it out loud, but yeah. that's been its biggest export.
Well, I think the most interesting thing I've always found is, like one, similar to Matt, like you were making these records when we're like kids that felt very mature and forward thinking in just the idea of art, big A art. And I think you were one of the first people to kind of introduce that idea of creating to create, rather than for like for an audience, and the idea of creating with a community for a bonding experience, a larger goal.
But to a fault at a certain point.
Yeah, for sure.
Because the one thing I haven't included in this fucking biography is the Wiggity's crew, which was my high school rap group where, we're talking about creating music as a group. We used to smoke 1,000 blunts and record a 12-minute long song with 10 verses on it. Just endless songs, just looping the same beat over and over again, and 1,000 dudes get on the track.
You guys are making a stamp in our scene. Like everyone knew who the Wiggities were.
We were kind of like Odd Future, just like a little bit more depraved and like maybe a little less talented, but like
it was like prep school Odd Future.
Yeah.
School exactly. Odd Future.
Yeah. But no, those guys are all great, and some of those guys are just like amazingly talented rappers. I mean, Mike Bump is like just a genius, a genius.
Pimp Jong
Il. Yeah. But where do you think you found you kind of where that began, that idea of just creating to create, but also like wanting to include everyone in the process? Whether it reached anything, it doesn't matter as long as we create and get something out of this for us as a crew.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that was manifested entirely in the events that we threw 119. And I think like, I, as an artist, sure, I enjoyed, creating music collectively with all my friends, but, the way that I feel like I was most able to kind of harness that was when we threw concerts in Chicago, at Emporium, at Town Hall, like at, at all these great venues. At some places that weren't venues, we threw a huge party at an auxiliary dog training warehouse and a boudoir photo studio. It's just a bunch of crazy places.
Where Matt made a epic entrance from the balcony.
Cut to that footage real quick. He entered from like the balcony and walked downstairs with a wireless, with like a spotlight on him.
That was great.
That was my way to. I loved creating that kind of platform, that housing. I'm lucky enough that I've come from privilege, and I was able to like stomach a bunch of costs because I had to spend a lot of money on a lot of those parties. And I was working as a freelancer then, and I had this like safety net, so I would like make all this money doing production, and then I'd blow it all on these fucking parties. Yeah, because I fucking loved it, and I didn't have to worry about like not paying rent because I had a next gig, but I always had this safety net behind me, which makes you reckless with your money. Yeah. And I don't regret it a second. I think a lot of it, we put a lot of money into the local artist scene. All of those artists got paid well. We never tried to nickel and dime people. And, I think we were able to give a lot of people some good exposure. I mean, I remember like the whole Hurt Everybody scene and like Saba and Mick Jenkins and all those guys right at the beginning of their careers.
Smino.
We had them on stage like way at the beginning. Like way
we threw, between those like few shows that you and I did in the beginning stages, that's literally Mick Jenkins' like first show. We threw some of Saba's first shows like that are now, national acts. And I think you are right in the sense that we always, even though it was most frustrating to me that you were like, no, there's no ROI on this whole thing. We're just going to spend the, but we made sure that we always paid everybody, even our friends, all the way up to real people, real artists, and made sure that we were still putting out an event that brought in a community. And I think that those 119 shows to this day were a moment in time to really help push Chicago artists and create a platform for
and
community.
Those are warm memories, man. I remember your dad running the boards. I remember it was a community event. We had all of our friends like running a full bar of staff of like 20 people in a coat, a fucking like coat rack or whatever you call it, the
coat room,
coat check. Yeah, coat room. I mean, it was the coat room was complete chaos, and I think we lost the coats, but those are moments in time that I look back so warmly and just feel like everybody was together there. There was like, there were a few fights and some weird security incidents, but it was all love. It was so much love in those buildings, in those boudoir photo studios
and dog training facilities.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it is what you say is like, they're very fond memories to look back on and be like, wow, that as we are getting more removed from it, to look back and be like, we really did have a moment of helping a lot of people out and getting things started, which was awesome.
Yep.
But that all comes from you. I think I'm from why are we doing this? What's the purpose? Where does the money come in? And you just had that idea of community and making sure we're just creating to make sure we're creating and there's art out there.
Yeah. And you know what? It's weird. It's weird to, kind of to bring the money back into it because there has to be the money part of it. And I was just like, I've been thinking about it recently, especially with all these artists who are like starving right now. Mm-hmm. And it's like, there has to be, like back in the day, like in medieval times, there was a patron, right? There were people that sponsored the artists. And that's kind of what we were doing back then. And like, that needs to happen again now more than ever. Yeah. There needs to be some way for us to figure out some kind of mass platform to do that. Yeah. Hopefully somebody smarter than me is figuring that out.
Yes. Smarter and richer than all of us combined.
Right.
I mean, make those millies, man. Make those millies become the patron.
Yeah. The patron, the architect.
How about, where did you get your complete disregard for latency?
What do you mean, my disregard for latency? What the fuck does that mean? Wait, are you talking about like way back in the day when my mic was like so fucked up? You'd be rapping so and like a beat would come in like every time somebody recorded a verse, I would need like 10 minutes to like realign it like visually. Oh God, that was
I used
terrible, man.
I used to be so sad, like hearing my verse afterwards, and you're like, no,
It'll be
we'll fix it. We'll fix it
off
later.
time.
And I'm like, dude, I have curfew. I have to go home. Like, I'm not.
You'd be like, no,
gonna
a
let
little
this
bit
thing-
for it. No, like 3 steps back. Oh man, that was bad.
Too
Well,
funny.
no latency issues now, man. We're
That was
good.
back,
We're good.
back in the back.
No,
in
we're
the
live,
few
right?
days-
Yeah,
few
yeah.
days.
We're live. So speaking of being live, where are you right now in this state of staying at home and doing nothing?
So I'm in Queens, New York, in Glendale specifically, kind of one of the nether zones that you've probably never been to if you visited New York. And I'm here with my wife, my cat Poopy, who is arch nemesis is Max. Yeah, we're doing all right. I mean, we've been quarantining. I'm lucky enough that I have a car that I brought with me from Chicago, and I've been venturing out. I'm a big fisherman, so I go out and explore. I've been getting into like foraging, so when I go fishing, I'll bring a little trowel with me, and I found bunches of ramps and fiddleheads, and I'm trying to get the grand slam, which is morel mushrooms. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm just turning into fucking Survivor Man slowly. I tried growing out my beard, but my wife put a stop to that.
Nixed it.
Yeah.
Are you finding that is fishing kind of been like right now your anchor in this crazy time? Like it's your one thing. Anchor.
Yeah. It's
No
always
pun.
been though. It's always been that, it's been my constant. It's been my way to self-isolate. It's been a way to kind of quarantine socially in a weird way. Because I don't always do it socially, like especially in Chicago when I, was really becoming kind of a fiend with it. Like I spent so much time by myself doing it. And you having that much time, especially like I'm not listening to music, you're not chatting with somebody, like you're just listening and you're just present. It's like it's it's the easiest, right? It's the easiest way to receive meditation because you're hooked into something that you're in tune with, that you're just used to. It's like muscle memory, loading bait, or you're throwing a lure repeatedly, and you don't need to think about it. But you're also not like dipping into negative thoughts, and you're just like zoned in on this one mode, fishing.
Yeah, it's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I know we're all looking for those outlets right now. So.
Yeah, you got to find your thing. It's something that you can get obsessed with. If you don't have something you're obsessed with and that you can spend, like if you have a free moment, that's what you want to be doing, then you got to start looking for it. Everybody should have that.
Yeah, man. I'm foraging for that. Like
You're foraging for it?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, man. I feel that. I've been thinking about that a lot because I think I was so tuned into the commercial part of making art for a very long time, and I got validated in different ways, and it kind of pushed me even further into the hole. And
because you've had like a very kind of storied career, like you've had such a roller coaster of a career. It's kind of crazy. Like I was thinking about it the other day. I think I was talking with Jared or something about it. And yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I'm just saying, you've had like those peaks and valleys and just crazy stuff has happened in your career.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I think because of that, I've always kind of, I come where I come from, like Chicago, and coming from Humble Park, and just like being somebody that is really just like from that mentality of like, all right, if you push me down, I'm coming back up, and I'm coming back up. I'm coming back harder. Like, right. Like,
yeah.
Or
there's not really a down,
Yeah. I mean, there's been some downs, man.
But I mean, there's no like down and out, there's no bottom.
Yeah. But I think with that mentality, I've always been like, there was always this like pushing the art forward, but also trying to do it in an accessible way and thinking about the audience and stuff like that. And man, recently I've just been like, I think this quarantine kind of inspired it, but there's so much time to yourself. There's so much time to like start looking at other things and get Premiere and Photoshop and pick up a camera and like start working on your craft and get deeper into guitar or piano and like
to read.
Wild. And
reading a lot.
And just like for me, it's like I feel like I'm getting back into that zone that I really wish I always had naturally, which was like, for me, it's like there were certain points where I was like, this music thing, because I was like reaching these peaks, I was like, this is my way out. This is my way to like do something cool for the people around me and my family, and like, and I was never. It was so much pressure on just making something that connected when I was like, it didn't need to be that big a deal. You know what I mean?
And to say something quickly on that, I took, a few, like almost like a year or two, just stopped making music. Moving here, I didn't have the same kind of setup at my last apartment, a million excuses. But part of it is, and this is another kind of gross generalization about music, but I think you need struggle and adversity and change and like movement to write music. You can't just be, being stuck and isolated in itself is a type of inspiration and a type of muse, but even that over time will be exhausted and oversaturated, and you need something different. And if you are just happy and content, I'm sorry to say it, I just don't think you're going to make good music. And I know that's like a kind of a fucked up thing to say, but I just think, you got to wait for something. That pain, nothing sparks your brain like pain. And that's not a Cypress Hill lyric. That's real life.
Sparks your brain like pain.
Sparks your brain like pain. Going insane.
But I don't know if this is a good segue, but speaking of that, I do want to get into how we are discovering music now, and I know like you've always been somebody that's showing me like the obscure shit. I know we met on a love of like underground hip hop, but I'm really excited about this playlist, man. I feel like we got some like out there stuff. We got some grooves, we got some jams, but this was like definitely the playlist where I was listening to it today, and I was like, I felt like I really wanted to be back in Chicago with y'all.
Yeah.
Playing this stuff.
I was transported too. I listened to it riding my bike around the neighborhood today, and I was transported. I was warped back into summertime shy, and it was just, it's a very, very peculiar and unique feeling. There's nothing like it in the world,
Even just being in our Brooklyn barbecues, man.
Oh yeah,
and man, that was my visual the whole time. I was like, man, we had such a unique time in Brooklyn, and I would give so much to just like relive that moment with all you guys. I mean, your wedding was partially that.
Oh man, that was so sweet seeing everybody together.
It was great.
It's powerful stuff.
The connector, man. You brought people together.
No, I think as we can jump into it. Obviously, we should lead into it that we gave you as the kind of the thesis of it was we have Memorial Day weekend this weekend.
Sorry guys, I'm bad at this.
What the fuck they talking about? Memorial Day,
we do playlists, man.
Memorial Day weekend playlist. If we were at the cookout, at the barbecue,
we're presuming I've been invited to the cookout.
You're invited to the cookout. We're gonna call this one a barbecue instead of a cookout.
There's implications here, Max.
Just so people don't get too pissed off. But no, I
dashiki.
There was no
dashiki.
I didn't.
Yeah, dashiki's gone, dude. That's just donated. It was from India, dude.
Too funny. But I will say, it's so funny how just feeding off the three of us with that idea, I think we all somehow found a very similar vibe because of just like one Chicago, but just like our antics in summertime, Chicago and Brooklyn. It's a very similar palette that I was really happy that it like cohesively found itself. And it did really bring back a lot of nostalgia. So Matt, pull up the playlist. Let's look at it.
And I'll say this too as a precursor. There's one kind of unifying emotional thread in these songs for me.
I found some themes. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, and there's definitely some melancholy. I think that's something that's kind of binding us all together. So it's expected.
Yes.
Yeah, I definitely think. I always take like Memorial Day. Memorial Day weekend is what kicks off the summer, and I find every year by like now I have like all of these like summer hits that I'm ready to like party to. I'm like itching to like get out, and they're like usually big songs. And obviously the times I think have kind of shifted that. So there's not as many big like, oh, this would be the summer anthem, but more so it's like, oh, this is like, I just want to have a good time with my friends. And it's like shifted from just like the turn up to just like, oh, I miss the good old days of just like hanging out. Right. It's so simplified, right? It's pretty great.
Yeah, we got these Memorial Day weekend cookout jams, baby.
So Benny, why don't you just you can just however you want to talk about your songs. Sure. Thing.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess part of it is, you know, we talked about how we've been discovering music. I'm actually like already seeding with like the actual lead in it. So I use Discover Weekly often when I'm taking a run or if I'm on long drives and I've exhausted my like most recently played music in Spotify. So some of these tunes I found through Discover Weekly. The first one is one of them. So Sweet Things by Mocky. I think he's Berlin based, but he is like somebody who found success making these kind of jazzy 80s fusion lo-fi jams like this. And this one I think is probably his best known song, but it has this kind of plodding motion to it. It's not a lot of dynamics. It's not like, it doesn't get super loud. It doesn't get super quiet. It just kind of stays at this plateau that's really comforting. You know, it's also just like, it's a simplistic melody, but in a way, those kind of lo-fi jams, you can't make them too complex. And maybe that's what I liked about it.
Yeah, and he's co-written on a bunch of different stuff and produced a bunch of stuff for a bunch
he's a writer.
Of people. He's
similar
a writer,
to Partynextdoor. I mean, who we'll be talking about shortly, but he's kind of a Partynexdoor, but in more of like the white people music realm.
White people that like jazz.
Yeah, like he's written for like Wolfpack, okay? Yes. So who is Jip Jop like the 7.0?
On steroids.
Yeah, on steroids, exactly.
Max was surprised you put Steve Lacy on the project.
I really fucking like that song though. And I was listening to it nonstop. And I think Steve Lacy's a genius. I think he's a really excellent songwriter. And that's not the only Steve Lacy song. Little hint there that I like. I like Steve Lacy a lot. And I get weird vibes from him, weird like rock star, like lost rock star vibes from him, you know, like Jeff Buckley or some weird
he's an icon for sure. Like, follow him on social media and stuff. He's out here like definitely living his best life. And
you know, he also harnesses. I mean, I guess we'll get to him in a second, so we'll save all the Steve Lacy insight for then. But yeah, Mocky I like because of this kind of lo-fi nature, and then obviously there is some musicality in the jazz that he's infused into it, which you know, with the simplistic melody, if you're adding in that kind of layering, you can make it a little bit more advanced listening.
Yeah, man. Dope.
I fuck with it. It's a good way to start it.
It's a jam.
For wait, you got to pull it on screen, or should I pull it on my phone? How do I see it? Are we still? Do you want to still talk about that one, or do we want to move on to the next one? Because I think we're itching to talk about Mr. Lacy.
Well, yeah, Lacy's next.
To lace it up. Yeah, I mean, so the thing about Steve Lacy that I love is simply that he knows how to make short songs. You know, I think there's a kind of underground rapper from Canada. This is if you guys listen to this guy, I will be greatly surprised. Mocha Only. Who's heard of him? Oh
no.
Deep cuts. Mocha Only. His beats are like very Dilla-esque, but they have the emotionality of Dilla beats. But they're driving. They're similar to kind of like the old West Coast, like living legends, like Grouch and Eli. Hieroglyphics, Far Side, like that whole scene. But his songs are like, they don't exceed 2 minutes in length, and you know, he's all about keeping people's attention, you know, short attention span held closely, and I think that's what Steve Lacy does too. They don't need to be super long songs.
Yeah. Steve Lacy's got some long songs on his projects though.
I was gonna say that project gives me, as opposed to like, I think obviously the internet is his main operation. I think that his project, he kind of explores more of a jammy vibe to it. There's kind of a jam band. I mean, not traditional jam bandy thing, but like it is kind of, you can tell he's exploring in a lot of the stuff that he's doing, I think, on that project. But I mean, he's just I think his future is going to be bright, and he's going to do some crazy stuff.
And he also plays guitar. I like that, that he's actually playing the tunes, that he's, I've seen some sessions on YouTube of him just kind of playing his songs, and him, just like you're saying, just like exploring the frets. It reminds me of, like, I don't know, like, I know it's kind of kitsch, but like Jimi Hendrix, like just someone who just is like a natural with music.
Yeah, he gives me a lot of young Prince energy.
Yeah, exactly. Something like that. Yeah. Yeah, so that Steve Lacy song, I mean, that was, I started listening to that right when quarantine was beginning. And so I had this kind of sensory memory attachment of that, where I was taking these first long drives out to get to the wilderness, and I'm driving through like dystopian I Am Legend style New York City, on like empty highways. And, I'll leave at dawn sometimes, so it's like extra empty. And there's, hawks swooping down over the highway, and getting into the woods, and just transitioning from urban to rural to just country, to just like open forest and that kind of stuff. It's that song, I don't know, it was not so much the theme in terms of like the romantic topic of the song, but just like the soaring quality of it really fit as a background.
Word. That's good.
So then the next one, so this is a different origin. This artist Yuzion, she's like a 17-year-old South Korean like underground star within their hip-hop scene, right? So they have a very small niche hip-hop scene that is mostly acclaimed within South Korea, but also Japan. And so one of my good fishing friends, Hiromu, put me onto a bunch of South Korean rappers and singers, one of them being Yuzion. And this song is just like, it's so catchy. There's like weird little references to Donald Draper and like smoking weed called cookies. And, she's just like very like unprecocious and just also has this like, it reminds me of like the hooks on like old LL Cool J songs, like this kind of like, I know it's a weird, like infantilized kind of like schoolgirl type like vocals, which is kind of creepy, but it works on these kinds of tracks. And add the auto-tune vibes, that makes it modern.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of that song? This is one that like you guys are definitely not familiar with, and it's a weird cut. So you tell me.
Yeah.
I really dug it. Like you said, I think it like infuses so many different things. I'm so fascinated with just like Korean and Japanese music right now that is just coming out. That's just like really interesting, and it's cool to hear music that's, you can just hear all of the influences just like right on the surface. And yeah, she's got this like cool weird it feels like, oh, this came out like 20 years ago, but then you're like, exactly. Oh, it actually just came out. But yeah, no, I'm super fascinated by it, and I'm loving finding Japanese and Korean stuff right now. And I think that it's going to blow up, especially with like those 88 Rising guys.
Another name to look at from South Korea is Brady Street.
Brady Street.
Yeah, they're a rap group, but they're also excellent, really out of the box, like excellent production. And some of the South Korean rap that is like trying to, like, they use English a lot in it. It can feel almost like too wooden when they're rapping in actually like Korean. It sounds amazing because it's a completely different like rhythmic approach. But sometimes like some of the songs that are like entire English verses. And, it's like what they think we would want to hear. And sometimes it feels like it's reaching,
That's like the funniest that I'll listen to, like, I'll have like a random playlist on, like, and I'll be listening to either like a K-pop song or like a Korean hip hop song. And it'll take me almost like a minute if it's in the background to like realize that they're not even speaking English, because they just do like phonetic and like they match so closely, as opposed to like Latin hip hop or something like that has like such its own rhythms and stuff. It is so identical, and they'll literally just make up words and use half English like Korean stuff. It's like so interesting to me how they're just like, we're gonna make our own.
But I mean, like it's like K-pop. I have just so much respect for like the the approach, like the musicianship there, like it's just next level. And it doesn't stop with like hip hop there. And like even Yuzion, if you listen to the rest of her album, like there's just, it seems like they have infinite amazing producers out there that are doing the same kind of stuff that we're doing here. And same quality.
Yeah.
Seems like they're also they got I don't know what's going on and what they're eating, what kind of drugs they're on, but the BPM is usually just like slightly faster than I would have done it. And it gives it that taste. Like when I heard the Yuzion track, I was kind of thinking, I was like, if I threw this into Logic and just slowed it down a little bit, I bet it would
chop and screw it.
But it would actually just feel like more like American territory of like a song.
Yeah.
And it also reminded me of like what I think Charlie XCX is so good at, and with just like let's pump this BPM like 10 or 15 more than we should, and let's just give people a ride and like just slap them in the face with this groove. Like who cares?
And
like,
no dynamics. Like it never kind of dulls down. It never peaks. Like it's all just like plateau.
Yeah, it's just great.
Yeah.
Like there's so much energy that's just like jam packed. I don't know if it's ADHD generation that they're we talk about Steve Lacy doing it where he can make a song that's 2 minutes long but it's kind of a jam, and then you got these Yuzion types where it's like this is like what is this song, a minute 50 seconds and it's just jam packed with heat the whole time. It's like,
it's
down.
like right no waste. Right
exactly. Like run it back. Shit.
So for the last two, I had to throw in some throwbacks. The first one is one that is kind of a new discovery, and I found it through my buddy Andrew Baird. Shout out to Andrew Baird. He always finds these kind of deep cut reggae covers, and one of my guilty pleasures is reggae covers of songs. This is so Jennifer Lara covered "I'm in Love," and oh my goodness, I probably should have done this research beforehand what the actual covered song is. But it's like an old Motown classic. I think it's closer to the disco era, actually. I need to do the research. I'm talking out my ass, but whatever. We'll somebody
you can do
somebody
the
Google
research,
it.
audience.
Yeah. But it is I put the burden on you. But it's an incredible cover. It's dated around the time that the song was actually made, so it wasn't made that far afterwards. But Jennifer Lara, Kingston native, incredible singer who sang with Dennis Brown and Freddie McGregor, just like roots reggae, just classic legendary artists. And this is like from one of her solo endeavors. I don't think she, some of the reggae cover specialists only do that. She was way more versatile and does a bunch of other stuff. But, my sensory memory, if I'm continuing with that theme of I'm in Love, was my buddy and I, as one of our projects over the last 2 years, we bought a complete beater boat for like nothing. Like somebody was just selling just like this broken boat, and we bought it on a whim and spent like about a year and a half fixing it up. And I mean, like we dug it out and fixed the rivets and added new phone. I'm just not not going to give you all those details, but it was a long effort. And then when we finally got it fixed up and put it out on the water, the motor would catch on fire, and we extinguished it, and then you were able to get it out in the water. And literally it caught on fire another time after that, but we're out on the water, so triumphant. And I set the Bluetooth speaker system that we had painstakingly installed on the boat ourselves and played this song and revved the motor up and hit full speed, and the wind was just blowing through my knot hair. And I just, it was just like, I could have cried. I think I did cry a little bit. Yeah. And then, of course, the motor choke like cut out, and we couldn't go faster than like 5 knots an hour because the motor was a piece of shit. So anyways, quick update. We replaced the motor, and we're going to have a full season this year. So it's a happy ending. But
that's amazing.
But that's what I associate with the song. It's just like this, it's this just beautiful, the song itself, the original song is just a beautifully composed song. And its sections are so distinct. So that when it finally gets into that like bridge hook in a weird way, it's kind of like two merged portions of the song. It's such a release, and it's like your serotonin levels rise, when that comes out, because it's like resolving the melody in such a satisfying way. especially when that verse kind of stays on that kind of lumping, thundering kind of minor course. So it's just such a satisfying song, and when it opens up, it's like a flower opening. It's just amazing. It's like synesthesia.
Yeah, man. Sex in the song. No, it's really I loved it. It's a great discovery jam of something old, and it's and it gave me right away immediate cookout, hanging outside vibes, and not too like stereotypical reggae grooves. It's like got a great feel to it. And her voice is beautiful, and I immediately was transported. This was like right in the playlist when I was like, oh yeah, now we're cooking. We're actually the grill's hot.
Yeah. I love your next one, man.
Hit us with the last one.
Yeah, the last one. So the last one here. This is one of my favorite songs ever. It's it's probably most well known. This is the Aretha Franklin, One Step Ahead. It's probably most well known for Mos Def sampling it from Miss Fat Booty.
Oh my god.
Which is one of the greatest hip hop songs of all time. And my favorite version of Miss Fat Booty, if you guys are looking for deep cuts, if anybody's listening right now, you got to look up the DJ Spinner. I'm sure everybody's listening right now. Sorry, tons of people.
There's so many people. It's crazy.
To the throngs of people that are tuning in right now to me.
Millions.
Go download the DJ Spinner remix of that song, of Miss Fat Booty, and you will not be disappointed. But anyways, most well known for that. But the original song, that it was sampled from, this Aretha Franklin joint, is just so powerful. And when we talked about Melancholy earlier, this is the flagship song of Melancholy. This is Melancholy in music form. Yeah. And I wanted this to play at my wedding, but my wife Karina was just like, this is like not the wrong topic.
No.
So it's just and that's the interesting thing about music, is that the scenario doesn't necessarily have to have taken place in your life. You can still feel tethered to the experience that Aretha had when writing this song, even though it has no relation to me. I'm still feel like I'm vicariously living through her, and it's so real in that moment while that song is playing. It's a lot of people associate Aretha with some of her more well-known music, but this isn't even that obscure of a song. It's just it's a perfect song. And it's a song written, in the same way like Dolly Parton wrote two of her best songs, in one day. This is a song that that's not an easy thing to write. And, my hat's off to her, because it's a piece of brilliant work. And it's if you listen to that song for the first time, there's some songs that you feel like a stirring inside you. And that if you don't feel that, then there's something wrong with you. You're an automaton. You're a robot.
Automaton. I think even the release of it is like it's not on any album. It was just a single that is out there, and I think I remember it was like resurfaced for me in Muscle Shoals, the documentary they were talking about. And
it was re-released in compilations, but yeah,
but it wasn't on one of her early albums.
Right.
But I love that it kind of exists on its own and has had these different waves of people experiencing it, right? I think almost a song that is so melancholy and can give you, I love songs that are like, it's your perspective on it, where you're like, oh, I'm really in on this, and I have a good feeling, but then you like listen to it a little bit more and you're like, man, this is not really that uplifting. But it's kind of great that it exists in compilations and as a single, and gets to kind of be sampled and relived, and doesn't sit on an album that everyone experiences as like, oh, go back and listen to that album. It almost services it even better to have it all these different lives.
And we're almost in new ground now, because in terms of like what the significance of a single is in an album, since we started music, like we went through the blog era, and like before that, like literally the mixtape era, which is like the most unsustainable, non-friendly way to trade music. I mean, I don't. It's been changing so rapidly. Like I don't even know where it's going to settle. I don't even think we're at its final form yet.
No.
And I'm Matt, I'm sure you have your conspiracy theories about this.
Yeah, man. I'm focused on the COVID conspiracy theories.
Not album release conspiracy theories.
Yeah, what was 6ix9ine Billboard is conspiring against him?
Oh
I mean,
God.
yeah, we can be going into dark places with
Yeah.
but I think actually, you know, the only thing I can add to that is I think singles are the only through line for every single generation and decade of music in America, at least. Probably of all time. Like, people have just really latched onto the idea that, you know, the whole idea of an album was more for a commercial. It was like, let's put all these things around the single and like make more money off of it.
Yeah.
But I think it's dope. I'm glad I got the history lesson from you guys for how she put it out. I think it's cool that when I hear this song, first I think about Miss Fat Booty, and then I think about it feels like a song that just came out of her. It doesn't feel like a song. And I think that distinction to me is always, you know, it always to me is what really good and great art is about. Like, if you can make me feel the feelings that you had, that they translate so well that I'm convinced you could have spent 30 sessions on this, but and doing the vocals right and making sure. But to me, it feels like it just came out, and I really love. I mean, that's Aretha's. You know, she's a queen, she's a goddess, but I love that this song just makes you feel that way. You know, it's different from like a chain. Like,
which are anthems, you know.
Yeah,
those are anthems.
But it's also like, y'all wrote this. Like, you've got in the studio and like you mapped this out. Like, this is that. That's pretty great.
Yeah, and you know, there's one other song that, you know, it's songs like this that, you know, that have been sampled with a song that's so well known and so ubiquitous. You know, it's like Common, The Light. The original song, Open Your Eyes by Bobby Caldwell. Listen to that song if you only know The Light, listen to that Bobby Caldwell song and tell me that you don't have a completely new experience. And if you've already heard it before, listen to it again after if you haven't heard The Light, and you know, vice versa. It's just it's a powerful thing, and it gives you a different appreciation for it, you know, because it has several lives.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm Common. What a legend in the weirdest way. I love to have Common on the show one time. I mean, let's talk about your trajectory, sir.
Yep.
God.
Word. That's great. I think we're on my additions.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
Look, man, I may have fucked it up, but I feel pretty good. I mean, Rex Orange County, Corduroy Dreams. This is a melancholy song. It's not super upbeat. It's not very. But his vocals are so pure. He has such a cool voice. He's just his own thing. He picks his words. He's not from the States, so he just has like really cool phrases that I would never say. But I just love this kid, man. I think he's great. And I think he really sets, like, when I listen to him, I see colors. Like, he's just very, like, and I see, like, really, like, brightness. There's a lot of brightness to his music, but it's also very sad at the same time. And I'm all about that. I want to bring the barbecue down, you know?
Everybody's dancing. You're like, nah.
Yeah, it's like, y'all are going to vibe to this, you know?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
There was something kind of like California. I know, like, he's not a Californian, right? I mean,
no.
There's something kind of a California vibe about it, though. You know, about like the pace of life is slower, but also like the beautiful monotony, you know, of certain areas of like the Inland Empire. I don't know. There's something, something there. Some je ne sais quoi, you know.
It feels like the Southern California. No, yeah, he's got such a. It's so simple, but somehow gives you this like full picture. Like, yeah, like the colors are somehow there, even though it's just him playing the piano. But yeah, his voice is so unique. Very similar to like Benny Sings, where it's also that same vibe where you're like, oh, like, I don't know, there's not much happening here, but somehow your storytelling and your voice alone is just like this really unique instrument.
I almost did Passion Fruit from Benny Sings. That almost made the list for me.
That's a great cover.
Yeah.
But no, I love Rex Orange County, and this is a good cookout jam. Definitely different vibe.
Yep.
I haven't heard the passion fruit cover, but Yeji,
Oh, dude,
Yeji also has a passion fruit cover.
Listen to the Benny Sings one. It's so good. It's so good.
Does it hold up to Yeji's?
It's the only one I listen to. Let me just say
I haven't heard the Yeji one.
Yeji's dope. I mean, I'm a big fan of Yeji, so
I can't get into Yeji.
Really?
Maybe send me something. Help me. Help myself.
Help me help you.
That's cool. So
moving on.
Anyway, Dominic Fike, Acai Bowl. It's the next one. Also very California. Sorry, Benny. I'm hitting these Cali vibes, but I just love Dominic Fike, man. I think honestly think that this song, if we're talking about singles, this was not a project. He's a new artist. He's young. And I think that the only reason why more people don't know this song, because I vouch for this song and I try and play it in like when we used to have social situations, is because the name has nothing to do with the song.
Yeah.
It seems kind of like a jab at somebody, you know? Acai Bowl. It's like naming your song Avocado Toast.
Yeah.
It literally is. I mean, yeah.
It is like one of those like his manager label is like, yo, like, can you please just name it something that you say in the chorus? And he's like, I need to name it Acai Bowl. That's where we broke up, at the Acai Bowl.
Yeah.
Like only one person's gonna get it, but he's gonna. But I don't know. I just like it's a good jam, and I love what's going on with hip hop, with R&B, and with I think guitars coming back in, like just like these jammy electric guitars with an 808 bounce, but it's not like the country trap kind of thing. It's just like really good music.
Yeah, no, I'm all in on Dominic Fike. Everything he does, I think he's really interesting, and kind of this new era of what pop stars can be like, where it's not, I guess part of the bedroom pop generation or whatever. But no, I love all that he does, and this is, aside from Three Nights, probably my favorite jam from him, and is very strong LA vibes. But no, he's
also if you go on a deep dive of his Instagram, which you should, he got kind of famous because he plays guitar really well, and he does beats on the bass of his guitar. Like,
cool.
It's like really cool. Like he plays in a really interesting way. He's not just like strumming. He's got some chords here, but he's just really banging and making beats on his guitar and like plucking. It's some really far out there shit like that. It was clearly like he's like this like skateboarder Californian guitar playing singing dude. But it comes from that skateboarding of like that rebelliousness of like, how do I take this thing and just like,
he's not gonna play Wonderwall at the campfire.
No, not at all.
He completely fucks it up, and he's playing and he's plucking. And he's like, it sounds like he's gonna tear the string off. Like, I don't know. When I saw that, I was like, this kid is like, he's doing something else. Like I don't know. It's really cool.
Nice. And that's my first listen to any of his music.
Nice. And he's from like the Brockhampton crew. I don't know, Benny, if you've listened to them.
Yeah, I know Brockhampton.
Yeah, so he's part of that whole squad. But it is like they all have, I mean, a lot of shit going on, but I do think that it is this like deconstruction that I think kind of Odd Future kicked off of like, what the fuck is pop music and what are these kids doing? And just like,
they look like the future punks from like some Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, you know, that like try and attack the Terminator when he lands in like the post-apocalyptic society.
I'd watch the shit out of that movie.
Like they're all wearing like trench coats and no shirts on, and like Mad Max or something. It's like that's the kind of vibes I'm getting.
Yes, you stumble in, or like with the Warriors. It's like
they're escape from New York.
Yeah, they're weird. You like wander into some park at night and they all come out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, no, he's dope.
But Warriors with diversity, like super crazy diversity.
Wait, Warriors is mad.
The movie's so diverse.
It's just segregated.
Yes.
Is that diversity, Benny? Is that what diversity is?
This podcast covers a lot of issues. It's really wide ranging. Okay.
White dudes wearing dashikis.
Yeah, we're airing it all out right now, right?
Yeah, we got to, man.
Hit us with your next one.
Yeah, Believe It, Rihanna, Party Next Door. It's Party Next Door song, but
this
it's
is my
Rihanna's
jam.
Song. Oh my god,
I fucking love this song.
Okay,
I haven't
so
Karina
good.
hates the song because I play it so much.
damn, it's so good to hear that Queen's voice.
Oh man, it's crazy. And this would have been the song that would have been fucking everywhere right now if we were all out and about, right? This would have been the song of the summer, I think, for sure.
Yeah.
And
Loyal is good too. I mean,
it's
so good. But this is like the gem of that album.
Yeah, and we're all just fiending for Rihanna, so it is any taste that we can get.
I took some mushies the other weekend, and I went on a deep dive of Rihanna music videos, and let me just say, this is my observations, my takeaway. Rihanna has never not looked she's never looked uncool.
Yeah.
She is always. I saw all the videos. I saw them all.
Even Pond to Replay, she's looking cool.
She's looking very, very fucking cool in Pond to Replay, dude. She is.
I gotta rewatch that one.
She is the most confident 16 or 17-year-old in Pond to Replay. Like, there is a whole $1 million budget of a music video club that dancing around her, and it's just like all about her. Like, she is killing it. And even next to Drake in their first collabs, where Drake is doing like extra Drakey stuff, like LL Cool J licking the lips, like really
lots of hand movement,
lots of
jaw.
He didn't have a style. Yeah. He didn't have he was just like looking like your average like.
This is just post Justice League Drake.
This is just not good, Drake. This is like, why do we let this man made incredible music and we let him get away with looking like a complete douchebag cornball.
Yeah.
Not look good, and he is caressing Rihanna in this music video, and she is just like, what am I doing here? And but she's just like. She's in a photo shoot the whole time. She's just like staring at the camera and not being cool. She kind of sings her shit, but she's like staring and just not really doing a lot of like emotion. It's all in her eyes. Rihanna's a legend, and I just need y'all to like go on a deep dive one day. But this song is also like validation of like, we need Rihanna back into the universe. We got to put that out. And I think she's an underrated singer. I don't think this is like definitely highlighting her range.
Well, because it's not about technical singing. You know, for me, I would put more value on the individuality of a person's voice. If I can pick your voice out of a lineup, I don't care how technical you are, you know?
Exactly.
And it's like, you know, I used to be a J. Cole hater like the rest of the world, or like 99% of the world. But then I realized it's like, I can pick his voice out of a lineup. And he's got some good songs. We can, you know, on the low. You can cut this out of the final edit, but
I'm a J. Cole fan,
he's got some good music, and he's a smart guy, and he's a good producer. And but you know, the idea is, if I can pick your voice out of a lineup, then there's something special there. It's like Pop Smoke. I mean, the dude had like, there's something special there about his voice. It's, you know,
he sounded larger than life.
Right. So that's for me. It's more important for you to have a signature kind of timbre and vocal quality.
100%. Yeah,
she's the queen for sure.
She's the queen of that for sure. But yeah, this should be at the Memorial Day weekend barbecue.
Hell yeah.
Niggas know Bigal Harrison.
I like this one. This one was good.
This is so good, man. This is that.
It's really dope.
This is that like the way it honestly, it sounds like Big L. It sounds like they mixed his vocals like he was freestyling in '98 and just put the song out. And I mean, intentionally for sure. Like, they wanted to do that. But man, I just want to be with the homies. I want to be at a barbecue, and I want that shit to just be Like you hear all this other shit, and then you hear that one. You're just like, okay.
Yeah.
Like now we're getting into this. We're too old to cipher. Maybe we'll try. It. And also just like, you know, I think there's a lot to be said about taking it back and just doing less is more sometimes, you know? Like the song is great. The concept is not that far out there, but it still feels new, even though it's like paying homage.
Yeah. No, it definitely sounds like it was recorded in Benny's basement in 2004. But
but you know, it's very New York. I mean, there's
it's
a little
super
bit of
New York.
that it's not exactly boom bap, but it has that kind of crunchy delivery where, you know, only, you know, not only New York cats, but New York cats are able to land on that floor with like impact of a punch. And, you know, when you're in lockstep with the beat like that, there's certain people, it's just like Big L. It's a perfect example. It's like, just when you're in lockstep and you're just in the cut, it's just like, it's music. It's beautiful.
And I'm happy it's coming back. I mean, I think there's definitely such a strong movement happening right now to bring back just hip hop, traditional, like let's just fucking vibe out this shit.
I mean, I definitely got some Joey Badass vibes. I mean, the delivery, you know, is similar. And I think that's, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. It's like a lot of cats kind of followed that same kind of delivery.
I mean, but then you like that, I think that's going to be interesting that's going to be the comparison to the new era of like boom bap hip hop, and he was doing his homage to older stuff, and now everyone's gonna be like, oh, Joey Badass, and it's like
he's the only one
all the same
in that lane right now.
Yeah. I mean, I think
he was the only one doing it for so long, right? No one was doing it.
Yeah.
But
in terms of new sound, it's something that I hadn't heard before. It was what Pop Smoke was doing, 100%.
Oh, definitely. Man, we were about to blast off
with the British production. I mean, it was something completely new to my ears.
Yeah.
And when you're blessed with a voice like that, it's just a whole other.
Oh my God, it was epic.
His album's coming out, man. So
I know, I'm excited.
Around to see what it does, but damn, I hope we can just blast that shit in the sun one day.
Oh man, I hope. I mean, there's gonna be some summer bangers on there.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Because Dior was like all over the city. I mean, even before he passed, like, dude, it was all over the city. You couldn't go anywhere without hearing that song.
Yeah. It definitely, when Matt put me on Pop Smoke, whatever, like a year ago or whatever, it made me be so, as soon as I heard it, I was like, damn, I wish I was back in Brooklyn. Just like when every car driving by is just playing the same record and you just know it, like that that's the song that's going to take over for the summer. I missed that. And like Pop Smoke was that guy. And yeah, sad stuff.
Yeah.
Damn. R.I.P.
R.I.P.
Yeah. And then my last song was our boy Asher Roth, man.
I was like, who is this? I recognize this voice. Yeah, college? Something about college?
I just love I love when an artist can go away, come back, and just still like you can see all this growth. I think Asher Roth was dealt a very bad hand. He made a song that represented a culture that he did not want to be the representative for, like the
future incels of America.
He's not that guy. Yeah, he's not that guy, and he really was like he presented himself to the mainstream as this guy that you did not touch.
But he can rap. The guy can rap.
That first mixtape, with the Drama mixtape, that Greenhouse Effect that DJ Drama put out with them, he had bars on.
Crazy bars.
Yeah, but like only we heard that, you know? Like not a lot of people heard that.
I mean,
fucking I Love College. God damn it.
I think it's part of that. It is part of that, like it's just sad that, you know, we're heads, so we're like listening and we're like really like, nah, but he's more than I Love College, but that's all he got. He still can't live that shit down. But all these producers and like, you know, people that get like he gets in with the Justice League and 1500
and like
nothing, and
cool kids liked him too.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
No, I mean
him and Chuck.
He has songs with Chuck English. Yeah.
No, he was cool with he's cool with all those cats, but you know pop culture speaks for itself, and yeah. But
Well,
I like this song a lot, and like Buddy is one of the best up and coming hip hop artists right now, like out of California. Have you heard any of his stuff, Benny?
I like Buddy. Yeah, I have
phenomenal.
the one Buddy song that I love.
Please say Trouble on Central.
No, it's
That's okay.
Stand By.
That whole album is as soon as I saw that you put this on, I was like, because I was immediately, as soon as I was thinking about barbecue vibes, I was like, I need a Buddy song. Like the dude just
Shameless with Guap Dad 4000.
Yeah,
that song is light years ahead. I love that song.
So good.
And I like Guap Dad a lot. I think he's a good character to have in hip hop. And he's like so funny, and he can rap too.
And Guap Dad's really about that life. He's about that rap,
dude. He's legit, and he can like. The thing is, like certain brilliant minds can just like come off the dome about. It's not even just about rapping. Like if you just see him in front of a microphone, he's just like an entertainer.
He's got that thing, right? He's just like his YouTube channel is super hilarious to watch.
Is it funny? I'm gonna check that out.
That whole squad of him and Buddy and Jid are like they're best friends, and it's just legendary shit. They're so funny, man. They're so funny, and they're having a great time with life.
And it shows like how magnetic they are, and how much it translates into their art when they're like they're at the Dreamville sessions, and it's the Buddy Guap Dad Jid show. Like they're outworking everybody. They're having more fun than everybody.
I didn't know Buddy was Dreamville.
No, he's not.
He was in the Dreamville sessions last year, where it was like,
he's just in the sessions. Okay, Sabo was in those too, right?
Yeah, they invited like every like
everyone's crazy.
Yeah, that's awesome. It reminds me of when my buddies, these guys I knew from this like metal hip hop group called Salem that reached some acclaim.
It wasn't Mip Mop.
No, Mip Mop. Yeah, exactly. I know this band called Salem, and that Kanye brought them in to do production on one of his like 2 albums ago. I can't remember. And they were brought to, I think it was either Yeezus or
Life of Pablo.
I'm pretty sure it was Yeezus, because they were brought into like a dark like a warehouse in Chicago, and there was like all these studios, and they were like put in a room, and they were like, somebody told them to just like start making beats, and then like they made a beat, and then Kanye came in and like listened to it, and then left and went to the next. It was like, one of those science fiction movies where it like zooms out and it's like 1,000 rooms, and then outside of that it's like 1,000 more rooms, and there's like 1 million Kanyes, and they're all listening to it's just like very, very meta and surreal.
Yeah, that was not the Dreamville.
I was gonna say that's
Dreamville sounds like really
version.
Warm, and J. Cole seems like a really nice guy, and he like takes care of you, and there's like snacks, whereas like Kanye, it's just like
you're not allowed. You have to pee in the room on your sessions.
It's like a bedpan under your studio chair.
Yeah, but no, I mean, shout out to Asher Roth, and I just like I think he's doing that thing right. He's like making art. He knows the stamp that's been given to him, and he's still putting out really quality music. And I would say probably some of the best music he's put out. He's still spitting, doing it for fun. I love that shit, and it's inspiring. So I think I'm always down to put Asher Roth on my barbecue playlist.
Can I do one sidebar discussion here, or we need to get for it? So one of the things I thought about when listening to him, it's something that I've thought about throughout my time rapping too, which is like, how do you approach rapping, which is known as something that has a predominantly like of dialect that is from like Black American culture, and has this very specific inflection and sounds on a beat in a certain way, whereas it's like in modern times it's like you can't really call something like white speak or black speak. It's not right. That's not accurate. But it's more so about, can someone who sounds stereotypically white, which is like the Dave Chappelle impressions of like people talking to police officers and stuff, very, very funny stuff, but like applying that to a beat in a way that you're showing respect by not using that same exact inflection that a black person would. But it's like Asher Roth in a weird way has kind of like a white voice, and it's, I'm not saying it's like a detriment, but in a way, it's like Eminem almost kind of had a white voice, even though he spoke with like certain Ebonics, but he still had that white inflection. And I guess I just wanted to like talk about that briefly because it's like, it's such an interesting topic that's like not really covered at all. It's what is okay, and then is it okay, and then, you know, there's this whole gray area, because I found myself as someone who started rapping just because I loved rap and grew up with like Digable Plants and Tropical Quest and wanted to do it because I felt this urge to get more information out, and I just loved the genre. And I never felt excluded. I guess that was kind of an important aspect of it. But I always, because everybody around me was rapping in a certain way, I felt kind of, I didn't feel like pressured to. I felt like that was the only way to rap. And so my stuff, a lot of my early stuff, not all of it, but a lot of it has that kind of inflection, has that kind of definitely has that influence.
A black scent.
Circa Ariana Grande 2020.
God.
But yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was just kind of an interesting thing, and just hearing Asher unabashedly kind of like letting his authentic, true voice out is like a testament to that, you know?
I think there's, I mean, as a white rapper, you have this much tiny little space to work with, right? Because it's not your culture traditionally, right? So
right.
You have to, I think there's so many things that you're working with by showing that you have a deep understanding of the culture and the music, and then also showing that you're not there to exploit it for your own gain, and as opposed to just like you truly are a part of this movement and this art, and not. And I think
there's like Chet Hanks. And there's like Asher Roth,
my boy Chet.
Chet Hanks speaking in fluent patois. I don't know how
he's so good.
Well, whose tutor did he hired some kind of like dialect coach, because it was too good. We have to admit that he actually was like pretty convincing.
He's hilarious. No,
as someone that's been in the studio with Chet, I will abstain from the conversation.
Oh, that's fucked up.
He's a good dude, but no, I think you just don't. I think it is just like such a specific little thing, and I think that's the thing that happened with Asher was all those, like that mixtape and his work with the cool kids and stuff showed a true appreciation for, especially, you know, early hip hop and its like origins.
Got the
and
biggest cosign from DJ Drama
from Drama and stuff, where it was like he was about this life, and I Love College was just the opposite of that, and that just completely nicks you. You have one strike, right? As a white rapper, I think. I don't know. I'm not searching for more white rappers. So I'm not like darn, but I do think it is like a very interesting thing. I don't really know what the answer is.
I like that it exists where it feels like you have to toe the line. Right, like that means that the culture is that strong. It's like it lets in who it lets in, and because it's such a black art, it's like, okay, like you got to really be about that life. I think the one thing that the through line for me is like there's nothing that grinds my gears, ruffles my feathers more than low self-esteem having, confidence lacking white guy that's trying to be not white, right? That is like that kind of energy, if it's like put into the art form, it comes through. So I think to like go back to your point, like you were never trying. I never felt like you were trying to like you were throwing inflections, because when we started rapping, it was like you were trying to rap like you were from the underground. I don't think
underground.
It's like, or like New York. It's like this, like that. All the music was, it had a punch.
Well, I listened to, I mean, my biggest like rap influences. And this is weird too, because like one of my biggest rap influences is Beck. Beck. Like he only made a few rap songs, but
you're not helping your case.
I know. And look, I'm not making any excuses for myself. I'm just saying one of my biggest influences is Beck, because he rapped on some interesting, nonsensical shit. Like his raps, he is what helped me learn how to make out of the box music, because he and like Andre Benjamin and like all these different people were able to rap nonsense together and like make words rhyme that weren't supposed to rhyme. And that kind of out of the box thinking is what made me fall in love with hip hop. It's like there aren't that many rules, but you're right. Like the inflection was like something that was just all around me. And also it just felt in a weird way. This is the best way I can describe it. It felt unnatural to speak in like really, you know, like succinct English. Like it almost felt like I'm doing a caricature if I try to rap my verses in like my normal speaking voice. It felt almost, it just didn't feel natural. It
honestly,
didn't flow onto that's really the only logic I have.
Yeah, and but to me, even you still sounded like Benny Nice, and it didn't come across as like an act, because you were also doing like, you know, Kaleidoscope and like Vampire, and like really like you were taking these out the box concepts that you got from Beck, I guess. Now that you know.
Well, you know, but like, also with Jip Jop, you know, we played a lot of covers, and a lot of them had the N-word in it, and we had to like creatively, you know, paste over it with other words, and like also emulate those artists. And
or you just had Bobby,
you know,
nigga.
Everybody turns to Bobby.
But I think but you're showing that all your decision making was all out of a musical choice, right? And your understanding of the art, and then the way that you shifted your vocal and everything you did was a musical choice, versus there are a bunch of these fucking ignorant motherfuckers that are doing it out of like a cultural, like, this will make me cool choice. Right. And I think that's the biggest, like a huge difference. It's a understanding and application to yourself. And that's good music in general. Right. And that's what I think separates so many of these guys, is you can see that they're doing this out of, I want to be cool, and this is what makes me cool, is trying to sound black, versus like, I really like, I'm a part, like I love this art and I've made it a part of myself, and I'm trying to make myself a part of the community.
But also, you know, it's like, it's difficult too, because like black music is like so all encompassing at this point, where like pretty much all of pop music is rooted now in black culture. So it's like, you can't throw a rock without stepping on like black history. And you know, that means you have to tread lightly. And that also means you need to pay respects, but also it's like, it's impossible not to have some kind of black influence on your music, be you whatever race you are, because it's everything.
But even look
it's
at
like all
everything.
pop music, unless it's like classical music, like good luck, you know?
Yeah. And I think even to take it down to a level of thought, of like not even thinking about it. Like, I was a big fan of, growing up, like a big fan of Paul Wall. And like, Paul Wall's not somebody, like if you hear Paul Wall and you don't see his face, you think he's black.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And it's so there's this regional.
You can see his teeth through the music.
There's just exactly. You can hear the lisp coming.
Shining.
But I think there also is this element of like, there is some like real recognize real. You know what I'm saying? And like, whether or not you're like actively thinking about how you're gonna present yourself, and like how you're gonna like step into a culture that is like foreign territory, right? And like, and figure out how you can create a space for you. Like, I think that does shine with like the Asher Roths, with the Benny Nices, with fucking Paul Wall, or even a Eminem or something. Like, there's a lot of people have tried it. A lot of people have tried it, and like, and to be honest, like, that's why, you know, Asher Roth was representing what other people, his minions, tried to do, right? They were like, well, I'm white and Asher Roth can do it, and then they created a whole subgenre of this frat rap that was like, that
still exists, that crowd still exists, and there's a huge population of people.
It does, but it's you know, I think G-Eazy is like the only example of one that like made it out of that, and he switched his whole style up, and he's also like a real ass dude. Like he's
even an example of like, he grew up in the Bay, like he's surrounded by the culture, like that's his shit. And
he also just has a swagger, you know. It's like, if you have a certain swagger, you can pull it off. I don't care who you are.
And like,
but that's ingrained in
Miller, you know, like
it's ingrained in you from the start. It's not you jumping into the culture and pretending.
Right.
It's like, and you know, like, rest in peace, Mac Miller, man. But he, you know, he was just a real ass dude that was really about making this art form, like trying to contribute to it, and people recognized it. And he had I mean, he was a pioneer of bringing in Vince Staples and the Odd Future guys and Schoolboy Q.
And it definitely took him.
All those guys.
It definitely took him a while to evolve into that, right? I mean, his early stuff is that like, I'm a white guy going to high school, like yay, but
backpack rap.
Yeah, but it was like it evolved, and his
depression
and the depression does that. But I think the community, all the people that fucked with him, which showed so hard when he died, that he was being real. He was being real to himself the whole way through. So I think that's always what matters. And yeah, I don't know, man.
So there's hope for Chet.
It's crazy.
There's hope for Chet. That's right.
There's hope for Chet.
Hashtag hope for Chet.
Hope for Chet. Hashtag hope for Chet. I think that's the podcast title.
Hashtag hope for Chet is funny as shit. Damn. All right, let's continue on with this thing. We're gonna have a 4-hour podcast here. So we're into my choices here. My first song is "Come On In" by Lady Wray. Just like retro soul vibes, but you know, came out just like 2 years ago. She's got the production's super vintage and warm and got such a good vibe, but I think that she just is very true to the feeling of old school Motown and Stax kind of stuff. And she's one of those artists that's like been around forever. She like was on like Missy's label back in the day. She was on Rockefeller for a bit. She was on Cuddy's album. Like she's been gone by like 7 names, and now this new iteration feels really dope and true. And
yeah, because I was gonna say, there's something felt, maybe if I'm remembering the right song, it felt new, it felt modern in certain aspects of it. Like it was definitely an old school jam, but it had some modern or things that felt modern in it.
Yeah. No, I mean, I love that. Like it's kind of what we were talking about with what's her name, Yuzion, like how taking that paying homage, but having this new spin on it.
Right.
But I just love the feel. And she's on Big Crown with like Lee Fields and Expressions. And it's like, it's that whole era of like, let's do true soul music.
Yeah.
And for cookout vibes, that's the vibe.
Oh yeah. Lee Fields is dope.
Love Lee Fields, man. The best. Next song I did was Rick Wilson, Chicago Bay.
Yeah, I hadn't heard like Rick Wilson in a while. I mean, I try and keep tabs on these guys, but he's a talented dude, Rick. I heard he was doing acting. Even he's doing a bunch of stuff.
He was on Easy for like, but as Rick Wilson, it wasn't like playing a different character. But no, I think for obvious reasons, it's got such a Chicago summertime.
Great song.
What the stuff we love, where it's just like tons of references of places and people and corners. The truest Chicago thing to talk about intersections. Nowhere else in the country do we talk about intersections.
Exactly. And I was just transferred there, talking about driving down Western. And real quick tip to all the Chicago listeners: did you know that if you drive down Western and you hit a green light and you drive exactly 30 miles per hour and there's no traffic, you will hit every green light and you could literally drive until the end of time. You will
exactly 30 miles per hour.
Exactly 30 miles per hour. No more, no less. You will literally drive till the end of time. No red light will ever befall you.
You've attempted this?
I tried many times, mostly high though, so I wasn't successful. But test my theory, folks.
I'm also pretty sure that Western is like the longest street
in Chicago.
Yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, that song is just like all the things I want for summertime Chicago. I'm missing some long streets. They're long here, but they go in different directions. But yeah, that's that song for me.
It's a great song.
It's a great song, yeah.
My next song was Paul Epworth, Love Galaxy, featuring the elusive J Electronica and Lil Silva. That song's just got like a good groove to it for me.
And J Electronica definitely recorded that in his own galaxy.
Yeah, I found myself making the face a few times with his verse. I mean, the guy just he kills every verse. I mean, he's so good.
So good.
He just what he does with words is just insane.
Yeah, and that impact rap, the hitting those punchlines. I mean, he makes them smack. He makes words hit with impact, and I mean, there's not many like him out there.
Yeah,
wish we heard more of that guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
He clearly had some bills to be paid this year, since all of a sudden we've gotten a lot of music from him.
Yeah. Well, you know what's funny in this song and in a lot of his songs, he references people waiting on him, and he says in the song like "Hove's waiting on me." You know,
Yeah.
like,
Verse was probably
always late.
recorded years ago.
Yeah.
I've wondered for so long how this man pays his bills. I've been like, what's he been doing? How do you...
Probably has a Patreon account or something.
He got like an unlimited advance from Rock Nation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People,
just exist.
People like him and like Jai Paul, where you're just like, how do you exist just as this artist that we're all just waiting for music for a decade from?
Yeah. Wealthy patrons? Who knows?
I guess so.
But for sure.
Yeah, because they're also, you know, if they're all getting record deal advances, I mean, there's got to be a lot of questions here.
I don't know. If you're friends with Jay-Z, who knows? You can do whatever.
Yeah.
Similarly with this, Paul Epworth is a legend. He's produced some, I mean, Adele, and he like started with like Block Party and all like Kate Nash and that whole UK stuff. And then won a bunch of Grammys and Academy Awards with Adele. And just is out here making. I love these guys that produce for everybody, and then they just get to make these jams that are just like clearly real close to their heart, and like you can feel it in them. And this definitely feels like that, and very good summer groove. I can see myself driving a car to this song for sure.
Yeah,
can't wait.
One day we'll go outside. And then my last two were summer hits that were definitely going to pop off. Bad Bunny. You could have literally put any Bad Bunny song here.
I was just going to say, like, they're so similar. But
he's
like, I enjoy it. It's easy listening, but like the songs are like carbon copies.
I mean, that whole him and J Balvin puts out a song a week, but it's a vibe, man. I'm not going to knock them. And Bad Bunny is just like similar to Steve Lacy, where I'm just like, yo, this guy is an enigma. He's
a rock star. He's a rock star through and through, 100%.
Yeah. He was going to have the biggest year and summer of his life, obviously.
Oh, I know. It's kind of, I feel bad for him. It's like stolen from. This was his summer, 1,000%. He was like ascending.
You know what? He is crushing quarantine.
I was gonna say his social media is popping. He was on the cover of Rolling Stone.
Yeah, that was a cool cover too.
He had 500,000 people watching him on his Instagram live, and he was just eating, drinking like vodka tonics and eating Doritos, and just like yelling at the camera, and he was number one trending.
That's a vibe, dude.
And
it's amazing.
He's such a good spirit. It's like there's rare spirits, man. Like
and he's actually like a good guy too. You know,
exactly.
Dude has all sorts of good charitable things he's doing.
He worked at a grocery store last year, so like the dude is out here.
Holy,
like a year and a half ago, the dude was bagging groceries.
So
it's crazy.
Yo Pereo Sola is like there's such a cool message behind that.
And,
and when he did that, he had like the message on his shirt on Jimmy Fallon or something. That was cool too. Yeah.
And he's very much
Kanye West. George Bush doesn't care about black people. Yeah. Greatest moment in television.
Very similar.
He'll be a very frustrating Republican in like 5 years.
Once those checks come in,
he's like, I'm good, Bunny now.
Yeah, I'm good, Bunny now.
He's this Bunny. And the last song is The Jam, Dealer by Rumor. I put the remix on there just because it's the newest thing. But I'm obsessed with what Rumor's doing. Benny, are you all in? Have you been paying attention?
No, I need a bunch of recs after this. You got to send me.
So this is only the second song. Rumor is this guy. He literally wears a ski mask, so no one knows anything really about this guy.
Okay.
He put out a song back in the beginning of March, put out a YouTube video titled Rascal, and you should watch it immediately. Yeah. And it's him. It's like shot like an old Chief Keef video. So it's him and his crew, shirtless, too many guns for anybody. And
is it the? Oh, I think I did see this. And he's singing like an old, country ballad kind of thing.
It's his take on Rascal Flatts, and it's all like fuck police and shit.
I saw it. I've seen that.
It's so this amazing juxtaposition of art and just like so well done.
It's like performance art. That's what when I saw it, I immediately thought like I could be standing in a room in the MCA watching this. Yeah, it's
so smart. People were trying to be like, "Oh, this is the next Old Town Road thing." I was like, "No, this guy is like." He's making art. And so this is the newest song from him. It's a jam. Is
he based out of Atlanta? Where is he?
Yeah, but no one knows a ton about him. He's like 22. I've read a few articles about him. He's got like definitely, I mean, the rollout was really smart. His label is, one of the guys that started is, I forget what the dude's name is, but he's Bruno Mars' writing partner. And it's like 3 industry vets it's just like a genius rollout with this dude. No one knows anything about him, taking like and creating this new genre and really like doing it the right way.
That's awesome.
And then get Future and Lil Baby to hop on it, and you got all you need right there. So
it was
he's
good.
a beast.
It's a good track.
He's a beast.
Yeah. Can't say I like the new Future album though.
Who cares?
I'm done with we don't need to go down another problematic topic.
You know,
he is.
That's kind of future. The future thing is kind of like I'll let the people tell me what song to listen to, and then
it's whack. The album's not good. I didn't heart a single song.
I've never like listened to a Future album and been like, this whole project is groundbreaking. It's just not mine. It's not my thing.
He's just lazy now. It's all kind of lazy music, you know.
Yeah.
It's like I don't need a hook. I'm just gonna repeat the same thing. Yeah. Not even like sing it.
But when he does some really cool shit that I hear, I love it. But
his good shit's good. Like there's no denying that when he's on, he's on. But
for Future.
Yeah. I'm not gonna put in any extra effort.
Yeah,
no. Like he's not putting in any extra effort in any aspect of his life, so I'm not going to for him.
Wait, so when is this cookout? When are we cooking out? When are you guys flying out here in the pandemic airport?
Damn. We may have to have a Zoom cookout. Who knows?
We got to do it. Yeah.
We could have a Zoom cookout, man. We could do that.
We could. If only you could transfer food through Zoom. You know, like in Star Trek, like a replicator, like, and it just appears.
Once we all get like 3D printed food, and we can all like send our recipes to each other via
printer,
then because that's gonna happen. That's gonna happen.
And then there's all sorts of wonderful opportunities. Yeah. Scratchy sniff.
Yo, if you could watch this Zoom and smell what's going on, you wouldn't be happy.
You wouldn't want to smell this Zoom.
No, not at all. Not in the least bit.
Yeah, Poopy's litter box is right here. So
God,
it's all good. It's all we use high quality litter. It's all good, dude.
But that's our playlist. That's our Memorial Day weekend. Since we're all gonna be stuck inside, hopefully everyone can listen to it and do something outside, distant from people. Nice. But
taking the wife with me.
I hope you jam to the playlist.
Yeah, and thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it, man. This was great. It's great catching up and just like you're reliving a lot of, the scene in Chicago, years ago is a special thing, and the community now is still so strong, and there's so many amazing artists coming out of that scene. And my heart goes out to all the artists right now that are trying to make it work because there's, it's bleak right now.
Yeah.
And live performance is hopefully evolving, but hopefully it gets back to what it was before where people can be out there, making money doing what they love.
I think the cool thing is that artists are always up to the challenge of finding unique ways to put their stuff out and give it to the world, so it is a crazy time, but I think we're going to see some really cool stuff, man. We're going to see some really dope things. I'm excited. Are you in the studio at all? Are you making anything?
Yeah, I got a few new beats actually. I got a few new beats.
Yo, send those
over. There's some weird things. I'm not sampling anymore. I'm just all doing on MIDI keyboard and my guitar and bass and I'll send you. I got like it's I'm working on Benchstrumentals X. So this is my 10th instrumental tape.
Wow.
Yo, you're a legend, bro.
Yo, you are a legend, man. I gotta give you the flowers right now because you've I had a 2-hour FaceTime with Jared, and we probably dedicated like 30 to 45 minutes to you and just you being the connector, and like, we have this whole crew of people that we all like honor, respect each other now at least, but you like a lot of our collaborations are through you. You know, like you really put us together in a really cool way and kind of challenged us to put shit out together. And it always you always spoke for the group. You brought people together. The community is always in the front, and maybe I don't know. I just like really appreciate that, and it's always good to have you as a friend. But I just want you to know that when I look back on everything, like man, you've painted a lot of really great memories for me.
I appreciate that, man.
You're the Phil Jackson of the crew, man.
It's just, it gives me really great joy. And it's like we were talking about at the wedding, just seeing everybody together as kind of like, fully formed human beings, and everybody's kind of doing their own thing. But, it just, if these events or if the community, the songs that we all made and the different like interesting connections are made, gave people value and started up important new friendships, that's the greatest feeling in the world. And I'm honored to be a part of it.
You're a legend, man.
Legend. We appreciate it, man. And stay safe and sane in this crazy time.
Of course, y'all.
Yes.
All right, man. Happy Memorial Day. See you at the BBQ.
See you
Peace.
Later.
Done.
And if you like what you hear,
subscribable. That's our thumbnail.